Hey, what's up guys? This video is going to show you how to simplify an expression using the properties of exponents. So the example that I have is a fraction, and we have many different variables on the top with exponents and variables on the bottom with negative exponents and also positive exponents, and we do have coefficients in front of the variables. So the way you guys want to simplify the expression is a good idea to start with the coefficients. So I'm going to look at the 8 and the 4. And that portion right there is just, think about it's just like a regular fraction where you guys have 8 over 4. And it reduces, or you could say simplifies, to 2 over 1. You guys can simplify by 4. 4 goes into 8 2 times, and 4 goes into 4 1 time. Then you guys are going to look at the negative exponents. Now the properties of negative exponents, it says that to make the exponent positive, you need to move the base with the negative exponent to the other side or the opposite side of the fraction. So what I'm looking at is the c to the negative 1 exponent on the bottom. So to make that exponent positive, I need to move this base with the exponent to the top of the fraction, and I'm going to make the exponent positive. Same thing with the f on this side. You guys have a negative exponent, negative 3. So you guys move that to the top of the fraction and make the exponent positive. Everything else that has a positive exponent, you guys are going to keep that where it's at. Do not move anything, just the ones that have a negative. So all of this here is going to stay on the top, and I'm going to start with this one, c to the third power. I'm going to put here c to the third power. And since I'm going to move this c on the bottom to the top of the fraction, I'm going to keep it together with the c next to it. So I'm going to have c to the positive first power. And since I do have same bases side by side, that means that I'm multiplying those two bases. So I'm going to put a times in between, so you guys remember that we are multiplying c to the third times c to the first. Then I do have a d squared, and I have an f to the fourth power, and the f on the bottom with the negative 3, I'm going to move that to the top, and I'm going to put it on the side of the f to the fourth. And remember, when you move that negative exponent, that becomes positive. Now again, you are multiplying the bases f to the fourth times f to the third. You're also multiplying the c's and the d's and the f. So everything on the top, it is multiplying. On the bottom, we do have a d squared, this one. So I'm going to keep that d squared on the bottom because it doesn't have a negative exponent. And now I can start using other properties to simplify. First one that I'm going to show you is when you guys have the same exponent on the top and the bottom with the same base. So I'm looking at the d's here. So the d's, they have a 2 exponent of 2, exponent of 2, or squared. Squared means exponent of 2. You guys are going to subtract the exponents right there. So that's another property. When you guys are dividing the same bases, you subtract the exponents. Well, if you have 2 minus 2, that's going to be 0. So the d is going to have an exponent of 0. Anything to the 0 power is going to be 1. That's another property. So there's 7 different properties that you guys need to know how to use. So in other words, another way you guys can look at it is if you guys have the same base with the same exponent on the top of the fraction and on the bottom, well, that simplifies to 1. So you guys can cross it out, but remember that what I mean is it simplifies to 1. We don't need that 1. So I'm going to go to the c's right now. So I have c to the third times c to the first. Notice the bases are on the same side, so I am going to keep the base when I multiply, and I'm going to add the exponents. So I'm going to put here equals, I forgot about the 2. This coefficient, we cannot do anything else, so I'm just going to leave those as it is, 2 over 1. But the c's, you guys are going to add the exponents because they're multiplying. 1 plus 3 will be 4. Remember the d's, those simplify to 1, so we don't need it, but we go to the f's. Now the f's are on the same side, so you guys are going to multiply, and you keep the base, and you guys are going to add the exponents. So you have 4 plus 3, that's going to be 7. Now again, on the bottom, we have a 1. There's my 1. but I don't have any more d's because they did simplify with the d on the top. That turns into 1. So we don't have anything else. Now in a fraction, you don't need the 1 on the bottom. So you guys can make that invisible, and your answer is 2c to the 4th f to the 7th power. I'm going to show you a second example here with negative exponents and also the same basis and so forth. So let's look at number 20. This is the example I'm going to show you guys. So the coefficients, well, we'll start with that. I do have a negative 12 on the top, a positive 2 on the bottom. So you guys can simplify. Here's my fraction line, and we can simplify by 2. So 2 goes into negative 12, negative 6 times, and on the bottom, 2 goes into 2 1 time. Now the negative exponents, well, you're going to have to move those to the other side of the fraction to make the exponent positive. So I'm going to start with this t to the negative 1. That's going to go to the bottom of the fraction. So I'm going to move that to the bottom. The x to the negative 4, that's going to go to the bottom. And there's 1t to the negative 3 on the bottom of the fraction. So that one is going to go to the top of the fraction. Everything else is going to stay where it's at. So let me move the t's first. So I'm going to have the t to the 3rd on the top. And notice that I make the exponent positive. That's what happens when you move those negative exponents with the base to the other side of the fraction. And the t to the 1st power goes to the bottom and is positive 1. The u's, well, the u's stay the same because they have a positive 5 exponent and a positive 1. Let me put an invisible 1 here so you guys know it has an exponent, but they're positive. So you guys keep those on the same side of the fraction, u to the 5th, u to the 1st on the bottom. Now, we do have an x to the 5th on the bottom, and it is a positive exponent. So I'm going to keep that on the bottom of the fraction. But remember that we need to move the x to the negative 4 to the bottom, and that's going to make the exponent positive. So I'm going to bring down the x to the 4th power. You are multiplying the bases. Keep in mind, so you guys are multiplying the x's, u times the x, the t, everything it is multiplying, even the coefficients. You guys are multiplying everything on the top and everything on the bottom. But we can use more properties of exponents to simplify the bases, or the ones that have the same base. So in the fraction, I'm going to keep the negative 6 over 1 because I cannot do anything else with those numbers. But if you look at the t's, t to the 3rd over t to the 1st power. There's a trick I show you guys in my classroom where when you are dividing same bases, you are going to subtract the exponents, but you guys keep the base where the highest exponent is at. That's just a trick that you guys can use. So notice the t's, the highest exponent is 3. So I am going to keep that base of t on the top because that is where the highest exponent is at. And you guys subtract the exponents, biggest minus smallest. Just do biggest minus smallest. That's the trick. 3 minus 1, that's going to be 2. Then you guys are going to look at the u's. And the u's, same process. I do look for the highest exponent. It is on the top of the fraction. So I keep the u on the top and I subtract the exponents. Biggest minus the smallest one is going to be 5 minus 1, 4. So I keep the base where the highest exponent is at, and then I subtract the exponents, biggest minus the smallest. That's just a trick you guys can use to simplify fractions when you guys have the same basis. Now for the x's, not the u's, the x's, you guys have x's on the same side of the fraction. Notice the x's are on the bottom, x to the 5th, and you are multiplying times x to the 4th. So that, guys, you keep the base on the bottom because both of them are on the bottom. But when you multiply the same base, you are going to add the exponents. So you keep the x on the bottom and you add 5 plus 4. That's going to be 9. So we cannot do anything else. The variables are not the same. T, U, X, they're not the same base. With the coefficients, you cannot do anything else. We don't need that 1 next to the x. You can make it invisible. So, in other words, you guys have the answer, negative 6 t squared u to the 4th over x to the 9th power. And this concludes my video. If you guys like my videos, you guys can click that like button. You guys can also subscribe to my channel. You can turn on the notifications so you know when I upload new videos. And if you guys know anyone that needs help in Algebra 1, you can also share my YouTube channel so they can watch videos and learn like you. And make sure you guys do practice, because when you practice, you will get good at math. So practice, and I'll see you guys later.